Hello, 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 everybody. This is Coach Powell. I am live today. Today is a special day. We are broadcasting from the car, as you can see. I'm broadcasting from the car today because we're spending a lot of time helping my family get moved. I'm moving my father from lovely Fort Washington, Maryland to Petersburg, Virginia. And today, my sister and I are taking the time to get packed up and help him do everything he needs to do. And so I'm so excited about spending time with you guys today. I'm so excited about making sure that everything that you need to do is happening and ready to go for your small businesses, for your large businesses, your executives that need to follow up on your leadership skills and create broader, better practices. And if you're following up with us today, you're in a great space because today we're going to be discussing the next level of the 9 masterful secrets to developing professional relationships. Now, if you've been following what we've been doing over the last few weeks, we've been going through the 9 steps, but we're about between step 6 and step 7. Today, we're taking a break from the series to recap some of the lessons we've learned already, some of the things we've learned already, so that we can catch up. For those of you who are just jumping on board, you can kind of catch up, but you can always go back and watch on demand, either on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on YouTube, any of the previous sessions so that you feel comfortable. It is so good to see so many of you out there. Trupti, I see you. Thank you so very much for coming in. I see you are hanging out on LinkedIn. By the way, just want to make sure I mention everybody. If you are showing up and you're one of our guests, thank you so very much for coming on board. I really want to interact with you. I really want to make sure that I give you a shout out. So tell us where you met me or where you're coming from, where you are in the country or anything like that. And I'll definitely make sure that we bring you into the conversation. Trupti is a phenomenal, healing expert, yoga expert, anything you want to know about wellness and balance. She is an absolute genius. I met her and got engaged with her in terms of working with her at the SOS Leadership Conference we did, the Sowing Our Seeds Leadership Conference for women. And it was such a great, powerful session. And I met so many wonderful people, including Trupti. Thank you so very much for coming on board. And hopefully, we can answer some questions for you. We can set some opportunities for you. But if any of you got to get a chance, Trupti, please put your website or whatever contact information you can in the chat so people can see you and follow up with you. Again, if you put your information in the chat, it's going to show up so people who are watching this even later on, are going to be able to see you. So please make sure. Oh, Tamika's on board too. Good to see you, Tamika. I see you out there. Thank you so very much for coming. And again, any contact information you want people to know about, put it in the chat. That way people can get in touch with you. As for those of you who are watching for the show for the first time, this is a very interactive show. I try to make sure I ask some very powerful questions. You can respond in the chat if you like, or you can just respond to yourself, but I want to get you engaged. So I want you to pay attention, turn off all your stuff, make sure that, you are actually showing up, put your name out there. I see you, Pamela. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so very much for coming on to the show. It makes a difference to have you guys here. And this show is seen from all over the world. If people don't watch it live, they watch it on replay. It's going to show up on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, all simultaneously. Like I said, this is a business-friendly show. And I want to make sure all of you understand, if you have an idea, if you have something that you want to share, a website, a link to the next event that's happening with you, put that stuff in the chat. I don't care. I understand sometimes people don't want to be salesy and all that kind of stuff, but we're about promoting small business leaders as much as possible on this particular show. And I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to share their brilliance with everyone who's watching. So please, please, please put your information in the chat. If you want to, feel free to do that. I'm always looking for guest presenters. And so if you want to come on the show and be one of my guest coaches, as I like to call them, at a later date, just let me know. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to prepare anything. All you have to do is be ready to come on camera and participate in the discussion. All right. So that's all you have to do. So there's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason to hold back. If you feel like you have something to add or you just want to join in the conversation, let me know. Put it in the chat. I'll follow up with you for Friday after next, or whenever. But we're taking a break from the series today. Today, we're going to have a simple discussion about a couple things. We're going to recap the first 6 concepts within the 9 steps of developing professional relationships. But before we get into that, let's talk about why you want to make sure that you're developing your professional relationships correctly in the first place. Studies show, and the research is clear on this, that people who have a tribe of excellence, a group of people around them that are supportive and interested in supporting their dreams, their hopes, their business ideology, their thoughts and their processes, always are not just super successful, they're actually super happy. And it's so important that you are happy. No matter what you do, no matter where you are, happiness actually, and this is the research again, is a precursor to all success. Let me say it again. Happiness is the precursor to all success. Now, because we're human beings, it is critically important that we surround ourselves with people who help support our level of happiness and our level of success. So I think we get it wrong, especially in the Western world, about how we deal with one another, how we deal with relationships. And I want to take you back to, the tribal mentality, so to speak. And it's really easy for you to take risk. It's really easy for you to strike out on new ideas. It's really for you to be easy to be creative and innovative if you know you have people to fall back on. If you have people who will rescue you if you go too far. You have people who will look out for you, who care about you, who are interested and have the ability to support you, right? So it's super, super, super important. Again, research study shows that if you guys want the information, I can back it up. I can give it to you, but you can go look it up for yourself. Right now, studies are clear. We need each other like we need to breathe. I don't care whether you're an entrepreneur or if you're a leader. I don't care where you are in an organization or where you are on the org chart of any group. We need people. We need people below us. We need people above us. We need people beside us. We need people all around us so that we can find a supportive environment. And I'm all about making sure that you have the most supportive environment that you possibly can create. That's why I created the 9 steps. So to teach people systematically what you need to do to maximize your professional relationship. Everybody needs the right mentors. Everybody needs the right advisors. Everybody needs the right consultants. Everybody needs the right people around them. And listen, there are people who are out there right now trying to get into this program because they don't know how to follow their LinkedIn live situation yet. So I might have to take a break to help out some friends. It's hard to do this on the cell phone, so maybe I can't do it. But in any case, let me just get back to the topic. So over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the steps you need to take to maximize your relationships. If you mess these steps up, and many of us have already messed the steps up, we've already burned bridges professionally that we maybe shouldn't have burned. And therefore, instead of strengthening those relationships, we weaken those relationships. There are people out there that we already met who should be mentors for us right now. There are people who we already met who should be investing in our businesses right now. There are people who we've already met, most likely, who should be supporters of our business. And if we had won that support and that interest, that investment, that connection, then we would be flying in a whole different stratosphere right now today. So I want to prevent in your future relationships and in your current relationships, I want to show you how to maximize the current ones and prevent damaging the future ones. And that's why I wrote the 9 steps. And that's why the steps are so important. So let me recap the first 6 steps of the 9-step process. Step number 1, listen up. Learning how to listen is critical. Now, the kind of listening I'm talking about is not just your typical shut up, be quiet, and pay attention. That's a part of it. But what's most important is being able to choose people who you should be interested in, identifying who they are, and then giving good questions, right? I mean, you have to be able to ask questions in order to focus their attention, Now, did you think about when you've answered a question that somebody's asked you, what happens? You naturally focus your attention on the question they ask you, and ipso facto ergo, you actually pay attention to the person who asked the question, because you're engaging in conversation, you're engaging in the connective process. And when you answer a question, you are literally saying to someone else, I care enough about you to give you the answer to the question that you asked me. Right? So that's always a first level of demonstrating of connection, is being able to get people to answer questions. Those people who give like great interviews, Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey, so on and so forth, they're always great at asking questions. And those questions generally draw people that they're giving the answer, that they're asking the questions to, closer to them. That's how you begin to connect to people, by showing an interest, by paying attention, by asking questions. All right. So it's very, very important. I'm sure many of you have been in situations where you couldn't get a word in edgewise when you're talking to somebody. That's a person who's generally not interested in your opinion. They're only interested in theirs. And most people are like that. But the point is, if you can figure out a way to validate what they've said and figure out a way to ask the question, and there's many techniques that I give you in the books that are associated with the training. And that's all free and available. All you got to do is follow the links that I shared with you. And I will actually, when I close the show today, update and post more links, so it'll be easy for you all to find in the show notes or in the chat, so you'll be able to get there. So you'll be able to see the whole 9 steps process, and under each exercise, under each element of the 9 steps, there are tons of exercises for you to learn how do you do this listening thing in a really, really perfect and powerful way. Rule number 2: if you're really great at listening, right, then somebody's going to share with you the thing that they need to share with you, that's going to allow you the window of understanding and open up possibilities to create a further relationship with them. And so you get a chance to make a promise. You get a chance to make a commitment. Listen, I see you're interested in this, and I think I have some ideas or some organizations or some things I could connect you to that would make it so much easier for you to do the thing that you really, really want to do. Would you mind if I shared that with you at some point in the future? That's all you got to ask. I see and understand that you're interested in this. Did I get this correct? Good. Now, I think I may have some ideas that I want to share with you, some people that I want you to meet, and some things that I want to try to connect you with. If you're open to it, would it be possible for us to talk about that at some point in the future? Who says no to that kind of process? Who says no to that? Right? So I'm getting you to a point where you're going to get yes more often than you're going to get no. If you structure the conversations correctly, what's going to happen is you're going to get a chance to make a promise. Now, that's a commitment. You have set an expectation. Once you've made a promise, you've made a commitment, you've set an expectation, you now have to be able to deliver. Now, don't make promises that you're not willing to do the work to deliver. It's okay if you make mistakes, right? If you are showing someone that you tried to do something on their behalf, and they can see the effort that you put into doing whatever you did, right, for them, they're going to appreciate it. So a lot of people go, well, I'm scared to make a promise because I'm not sure if I can deliver on the promise. Da, 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 da. That matters, yes. Being able to deliver on the promises matters, absolutely. Being able to set the expectation matters, absolutely. However, it's the effort that makes the emotional connection between two people. Someone seeing that you said that you were going to do something and you are showing them that you are making it happen, or you are trying to move it forward, that is great. What most people do is they say, you know what, I'm going to follow up with you with some information. I'm going to follow up with you with some so on and so forth. And then they drop the ball. Then they get embarrassed because life be lifing, right? Life happened to them, and they don't follow up. And they don't know what to do now, except, when they get caught out there with that same person once again, oh, I apologize. I was supposed to get to that, da, 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 and I didn't get around to it. It's my fault, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't be waiting to tell people or have people tell you that you didn't honor the commitment or the promise that you promised to honor that you do. So you should be telling them, listen, I tried to make this connection, or I tried to come up with this thing. I tried to do blah, blah, blah. I wasn't able to do it in the time frame that I thought I was going to be able to do it in. So I do apologize. I think, though, now that I've gotten into it, this could be much easier if I do blah, 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 blah. Would you mind if I attempt that? Again, you're setting new expectations. You're making promises. And it's important. Now, that's the first part of promises. The second part of promises is you must understand that you have value. You have something that you bring to the table anywhere you are. And everybody can learn something from everyone. Why not you? Right? So you have to ask yourself, what is it that you bring, what unique or differential advantage or unique skills or talents or gifts do you bring to any conversation? What do you bring to any scenario? You know, I happen to be brilliant at developing professional relationships. It's a skill that I've honed over the last 20 years. I wrote it down. I codified the process for everybody, and I can share that with anybody who's interested, right? So it's super, super important that you know what you can get. That's just one of my many gifts. But I know that's one of my best gifts and one of my most valuable gifts. If I keep it to myself and I don't share it with people, how will people know the value of the gift that I bring? And so I have to be willing to share my gift. What is yours? What is it that you have so abundantly that you would have no problem sharing it with anybody who might benefit from it? What talent, what skill? I can already tell. I know. When I said earlier, Trupti is an amazing wellness professional, I promise you, she is, right? I've seen her do her thing. And I'm telling you, it's very few people who could do what she does in the way she does it. And she's just a rock star. And the fact that she would share any of her brilliance with us is a gift. It is a gift that I'm going to say it's a gift from God, you know, because all gifts are gifts from God in my point of view. Not trying to tell you all got to think like I think or pray like I pray. But I'm telling you, there's something about when you understand what you bring to the table and what you understand what gift God has put in your life or what gift you've been able to nurture and hone over these years, your ability to share that gift in the right places at the right time with the right people is a way for you to establish and understand your brilliance and show how your brilliance can be important to the forward flow of human history. That I'm not going to get on the soapbox there because I can talk for a long time about that. But first step, one, learn how to listen. Second step, make promises, keep promises, deliver on your promise. Third step, make sure that you are following up and following through. There's nothing worse in a professional relationship from the beginning or anywhere during the relationship when somebody has an expectation. They clearly understand that something, there's a promise that has been made and there's been no follow up and follow through. It is the worst way to establish trust in a relationship. If you have set an expectation, you have listened to a person, they feel like you think they're special, you think they're important. And now you're making promises. Now they have an expectation that you're going to come through with the promise that you made. And then you don't come through. You are doing damage to their ability to trust others. So I'm saying be very careful about who you make promises to and be very careful about how you show up because you got to follow up. You got to follow through. Even if you find out along the way that the promise that I made to you, unfortunately, I can't keep, or unfortunately, this didn't happen. You don't ever want to set an expectation that you don't go back and make sure that you follow up with all the way through the process. Again, you make a promise, you follow up on that promise. Now you have in a situation where you have the ability to have a person either give you feedback or you can ask questions like, listen, I did this for you. I showed you this process. I introduced you to these people. How did that work out for you? You know, and I often set that up. Listen, when I give you this program or when I share this information with you, when I do this, I'm going to follow up with you just to make sure I checked on, make sure it's working the way it's supposed to work, make sure all the expectations are met. Would you mind if I do that? I'm asking permission to follow up and follow through. I'm not just assuming that somebody wants me to follow up and follow through. I'm asking permission because I'm setting a pace for how I want this relationship to move forward. I don't want people pouncing on me with what they think is useful and valuable. And I want them to ask me and make sure that it's okay that I do it or I receive it in the way that was supposed to be received. Because if not, I'm going to be making a lot of assumptions. They're going to be making a lot of assumptions. And then all of a sudden we're in a situation where I'm trying to give them something that they really don't want. And they're saying yes because they feel obligated to say yes, but they really don't want it. And so that has no value to them. I'm thinking I'm delivering value and they can't receive it the way I want to receive it. So following up and following through is an opportunity for you to get the feedback. It's an opportunity for you to see if what you shared with them was something of value or they would value it. Now you've checked ahead of time when you asked them if it was okay to share it, right? Now you're double checking to make sure when they've received it, that they've received the value that they expected to receive. And you have to ask them again. The more you ask, the more you get feedback. The more you inquire about things, then the more solid you are on whatever it is that you're offering. Right? The more you know that it truly works because it worked before, or you've seen it, you've gotten the feedback that goes, oh, people really like this when I do this, or when I share this, or when I da da da. And you start to identify the types of people. You start to identify your people, the people that you really should be playing with, the people that really should be playing with you. They start to emerge because they really appreciate what you bring to the table. This brings me to step number 4. Now, let me recap. Listen up. Promises, and then follow up and follow through. Step number 4 in the whole 9-step strategy is really get connected. Now, once you finish those first 3 steps, if you've done them well, you're going to find there's going to be a natural emerging of a potential connection between you and the person that you're trying to win this professional relationship with. You're not ready yet to ask them to be your mentor. You're not ready yet to ask them to be on your advisory council. You're not ready yet to ask them to do anything more than the communication and strategy that you just talked to. But you're sensing that it might be an opportunity to get there. And I'm telling you, if you try to push that relationship too fast, you're going to break it before it even begins to do. You're just initiating. Right now, all they have is they know you a little bit right now. All right. And they may trust you with the stuff that you said that you know, and that's up to them, but they haven't really, we're not really ready to go to the next step with you and formalize your relationship. Right. So now what you have to do is you have to figure out ways to drive that connection even further. We're talking about getting connected, right? Really taking the time to go backwards and go, listen, we've been working together. I've seen you. I see what's going on, what's happening, and so on and so forth. I want to follow up with you. I want to make sure that we're okay and we're doing things together. When can we meet next? That's when you want to be able to establish that this has value for you. You're hoping it has value for them. You're verifying the fact that it has value for them. They might be giving you feedback like, oh my God, I like playing with you. I love talking to you. I love working with you. I think you're just a wonderful person, blah, blah, blah. They're giving you the feedback now that lets you know that the connection is a real connection. And there's something that they're going to look forward to moving forward with you and doing something else with you. Right? They've already established it. They already established a basis, a fundamental basis for the relationship. They like you now. Right? You've moved to I know you to I like you. Right? So that's what you're getting into. Now, these next 3 steps is all about strengthening that muscle, getting that love connection going, making sure that they know what's going on. So step number 1, listen. Step number 2, make promises and keep promises. Promises. And step number 3, follow up and follow through. Step number 4, get that connection. Get anything you need to do to strengthen that connection and make that connection sing. Like set up the next meeting, the next opportunity that you're going to play together. Do that. Get that connection moving forward. Step number 5, you want to begin now to structure your meetings and have an agenda for what you want to do when you're dating this person that you're trying to establish a professional relationship with, right? Because at some point you're going to ask them to be your mentor. At some point you're going to ask them to, do something big, maybe invest in your company, or you're going to ask them to help you make very valuable connections or whatever that is. They like you now, and they're more likely to begin the process of thinking about that kind of stuff. But what you want to do before you make that ask is you want to set it in. You're having a meeting of the minds now, what I call the meeting of the minds. And you're getting together and you're setting a professional meeting with them. You're going to have an agenda. You're going to have a time limit. You're going to have a way that meeting is going to go. It's going to be a phone meeting. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. It's going to be a personal meeting. The more personal it is, the more face-to-face it is, the deeper the connection is going to be. So don't give up on the phone, because if that's all the person is willing to do, then you might have to fall back to a phone. What you cannot do is establish this connection via email or text message. Can't do it. You need a communication channel where you're going to get active feedback back and forth. The more feedback you're getting verbally, non-verbally, is the best. So face-to-face is the best. Zoom or some kind of video conferencing is the next best. And then phone call is the least best, but it's still better than trying to develop a personal connection via email, or you're going to try to write them a letter or whatever. That's a one-way communication. You need two-way communication so you can actively get feedback consistently back and forth with that person all the time. I can't stress to you how important this is. When you are getting a professional relationship, before you say, oh, I want you to be my mentor, I want you to be my advisory board member, I want you to be one of my lead investors, I want you to, you got to follow these steps, because they're going to give you, they're going to, at some point during you having those meetings, they're going to ask you, well, I see what you're doing, I see what's going on with you, and I think you're doing a great job of working with me, and so, but what can I do for you? Someone's going to ask you that question at that point in time. And you're going to have to come with an answer. That's when I didn't even want you to come with an answer right then. They start asking you what I could do for you. That's great. But I want you to think about how do you set up a win-win scenario? That's step number 6. We talked about that last week. We went deep in that. So if you want to go back and watch that episode, you can go ahead and do that. But that's all about establishing the win-win. What is the win-win relationship? A win-win relationship is simple, right? It's a relationship where nobody loses and everybody wins. Let me give you a secret. Every relationship is a win-win relationship. The problem is we don't think of them. We don't think about the real wins for everybody in the relationship. And we certainly don't talk about them. Years ago, I interviewed thousands of mentors, professional mentors that were working with people in the business, in whatever industry they came from. And I asked them a question. And the question was, what is it about mentorship that is a benefit to you, the mentor? And I thought for sure that was going to stomp people and they were never going to answer that question. But I thought I'd answer the question just to see what I would get back, right? I got back such amazing feedback, and it let me know that what Stephen Covey, when he wrote about establishing win-win relationships many years ago, really, really, really works, and it's really true. I suggest, if you haven't read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you go back and you read that, because that really is a breakdown of what win-win relationships are like no other I've seen. I've read tons of self-help books and personal interest books. I've taken tons of classes and courses and been certified on different strategies and techniques. And I'm telling you, Dr. Covey's description of a win-win relationship is probably the best. You probably can Google it, use AI, and figure out what Stephen Covey says about win-win relationships and come up with everything without even having to buy the book. But I will tell you, it's important that you understand what win-win relationships are all about. It's a relationship where everybody wins, nobody loses. But my contention is everybody wins in every relationship, because it's something in every relationship that everybody wants. Back to the mentor story. When I interviewed all these mentors, they all came back with very similar thoughts and feedbacks. But one of the best things they said was, and this was across the board, finally, someone is listening to me. That let me know that even in a mentor-protege relationship where mentors are pouring into their proteges, the mentor's benefit is I get to say what I've always wanted to say to a professional in my industry, or somebody who's trying to do the things that I've already learned how to do, and they're taking my advice, and all they're saying to me is, thank you. What that says quite clearly is that mentors love the validation of being able to share their thoughts and ideas, but they know for a fact is true. It's good stuff. It's real time, real information that if anybody can take it and use it, they're going to have a better process or better system or better strategy than the mentor had when they were going through whatever it is they were going through. So mentors love to share. Oh, do mentors just love to share, or does anybody love to share? The fact is, human beings love to share. No one wants to be irrelevant in their day-to-day practice. No one wants to be somebody who's sitting, taking a back seat in terms of working with people. Everyone wants to be relevant. I call this the MRS degree. Everybody wants to be meaningful, relevant, and significant in as many interactions as they possibly can. However, they don't know that they're being meaningful, relevant, and significant until somebody shares with them and says, oh my God, what you said, what you did, what you shared with me was so important, was so amazing. Thank you so very much. I couldn't have done it without you. I couldn't have been here unless you did it. The good phrase that I love to use is domo arigato, right? Domo arigato is a phrase that you may have heard. You may have heard that it means traditionally thank you. I forget which age and language. If somebody wants to help me out in the chat, I really appreciate it. But what it really means is I could not have done it without you, or even better, it could not have been without you. That's what domi arigato means. It's more than thank you. It's a level of respect. It's showing a level of honor. It's showing a level of connection to a person that's saying, listen, what you did for me was so important. It caused an effect and a change in my life that I could not have caused without you. Thank you is not good enough to truly express how it feels to have somebody pour into your life and into your world. You want to be able to tell them explicitly, listen, this is what this meant to me. This is how it felt to me. This is what I now feel more empowered to do because of you, because of your input, because of the things that you poured into me. And I'm so appreciative of that. That makes a big difference because that helps a person know I was meaningful, I was relevant, I was significant, at least in this moment with this person. And there's no one who doesn't want to be appreciated. There's no one who doesn't want to be praised. In fact, I wrote a program called the Rap Report, and it was literally about how you show respect, affection, and praise for another professional. What is the appropriate way to do it? Because we've gone away from feelings. We thought, feelings are not important. Feelings are everything. Stop with that noise that you don't need feelings or emotions in business. You do. You can't get away from them, so you might as well learn how to use them exceptionally well. If you don't know how to develop your emotional intelligence, you are losing when it comes to developing professional relationships. And that means you're not going to be happy, you're not going to be successful. So I hope you followed me so far. Now let me backstep. Before you even get into these 6 steps that I just mentioned, and I'm going to repeat them to you one more time. Listen up, make promises, keep promises, promises, follow up and follow through, get deeper, meaningful connections with people, have meetings of the minds consistently and regularly with people, and establish win-win relationships with people. If you can't get here, you find yourself having problems with all these things, let me tell you what you're having a problem with. The problem is not with other people. It's not outside. It's inside. It's internal, and it's internal to you. You are having what we call intrapersonal development problems. Interpersonal development is your own personal development. It's you. It is your ability to do a few things. The big things that you have to do when you're developing your own interpersonal strategy, your own interpersonal development, has to be about your self-awareness, right? Thing 1, you got to know who you are. You got to know whose you are. You got to know where you're going. You got to know where you are. You got to be set and grounded in you. They use terms like grounded. You use terms like mindfulness. You use terms like connected to you to let you know that you understand yourself. We're going to get into that little details in a couple seconds. The second thing you have to know when it comes to your own interpersonal development, right? We got to know about emotional regulation. You need to be able to control your own emotions. Now, I don't mean that you have to be stinted in your emotions. I'm not saying don't have emotions. I am saying understand your emotions and understand what they mean and understand how to develop them. If you understand your own emotions and you can control your own emotions, you can help others regulate their emotions. Unregulated emotions make for terrible decision making, right? So if you're emotionally hijacked, that's a term you might want to look it up. If you if you find yourself in a situation where you're emotionally compromised, they talk about this a lot. If you ever watch Star Trek, right? Dr. Spock it was important for him as a Vulcan to never be emotionally compromised, because if he was emotionally compromised, then he could not make good decisions and he could not be the best Vulcan he needed to be. And that was a very serious part of his culture, is being able to regulate and maintain and control your emotions. And I would submit to all of us, it is important for us to be able to do the same. Not to the point where we don't have emotions, but we don't let our emotions get away from us and get in front of us, especially when it's time for business decisions to be made. There's so much hanging on the line. You can't be kirking out when you need to be focused and you need to help others, guide them, direct them through complicated processes and so on and so forth. You got to be in it to win it. You can't be all like, oh my God, this is feeling blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it could go either way. You can't be too happy and you can't be too sad, when it comes to, because either way, on either continuum, you're out of control, right? And the more you learn how to control and face and pace your emotions, the better you're going to be. The third thing you have to think about when it comes to your interpersonal development is understanding how you can be resilient in the face of whatever could happen in the ecosystem of your industry. Now, if you haven't studied your ecosystem in your industry, whatever that is, there's always suppliers, there's always buyers, there's always people who are supporters, right? So there's people who are above you, right? These might be your buyers. You need to have them. There's people around you. There's support systems. There's people underneath you. These are suppliers, right? And the ecosystem is full of all these different types of people. And you have to know the landscape in which you work in and the space in which you work in, understand all that 360 degrees around you to see where you best fit in, where you best belong, where you are strong, where you are weak, all these types of different things. Because when you understand this, you know how to operate. You can be more resilient in the face of adversity. Now, I will have to tell you, if you don't have a group of a team that is literally got your back, people who know you personally and are ready to go to the mat with you, if you don't have that, you need to establish that. That's why I wrote the 9 steps to help you get there. But your resilience is going to be stronger the more people you have that have your back. Right? The more you have gone through some stuff and faced it on the other side and come out on the other side, the stronger you're going to get, right? The more you practice what you do, the stronger you're going to get. So you need to build your resilience. And there's a lot of techniques that we can teach you about that, but it's super, super important. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to your developing, and there's more than I'm going to have time to talk about today, but the last thing you want to talk about when it comes to developing your own interpersonal development, we got to talk about your own ability to motivate yourself. Self-motivation. I'm not talking about discipline. I'm not talking about character. I'm not talking about anything related to your ability to be consistent. That's not motivation. That's what you do because you're motivated, right? But when you're motivated, you have that internal drive, that trigger inside of you that says, what I am attempting to do is more important than anything else that you could put in front of me, then you're going to have the motivation to do that thing, to actually develop the strategy, to develop the techniques, to develop the habits, to make sure that you're doing the things that you're supposed to do, the discipline, the connections, all the things you need to have. You need to be motivated. And your ability to motivate yourself in the face of whatever else is going on in your world is a critical ability. It is a skill that a lot of people simply don't have. And I will promise you, if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't developed these 4 skills, these 4 interpersonal skills, that skill of self-awareness, emotional regulation, resilience, and self-motivation, you need to do that stuff. Do that work. Ayanna Van Zant would say, do the work, right? Do that work before you start entering into personal relationships with other people, because if you don't, you're bringing that damage into this relationship. And the reason why relationship doesn't work, it's going to be a combination of you bringing the damage into the relationship and then other professionals going, here we go again, another broken person trying to come at me to bring something to the table that I don't want, I don't need. They don't even know how to offer it in a useful way. I don't trust them. I'm not going to trust them, because people can smell it. They can smell the fear, the weakness, the self-doubt, the hatred. They can feel it. So you got to learn to love yourself. And the only one way to love yourself is to develop those personal development skills. All right. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, and I want to make sure I try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. There's a lot of stuff in the chat. Thank you guys so much for your participation and for your interest, your input. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you participate, to have you engaged in the show. I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, if you have any questions, you have any thoughts or any ideas you want to share, feel free to put them in the chat. I will respond when I have some time to respond. But guess what? Somebody else might respond as well. And you'd be surprised at how many people will make that happen for you, and how many people will respond to you if you'd only engage. But again, you got to do that work for yourself before you start to engage with others. And make sure you've done it. Make sure you understand. Are you self-aware? Are you really good at regulating your own emotions? Right? Can you be resilient in the face of adversity or opportunities? Or can you hang it? Can you keep you hanging there long enough? Are you strong enough? And literally, are you self-motivated? If you got those things ready, then you're ready to enter the 9 steps, and you're ready to swing for the fences and build amazingly powerful relationships. Next week, we're going to continue the process of the 9 steps. We're going to move into step number 7, 8, and 9. And step number 7, 8, and 9 is when we start getting into teamwork. We start getting to how you move from interpersonal to interpersonal to teams. And how do you do that? How do you build those relationships along the way so that you can maximize your ability to be effective in large groups? So you can maximize your ability to be effective in small teams, large groups, major organizations. That's what we're going to talk about. And how do you develop high levels of trust along the way? So definitely tune in, hang in. When I get back to my computer next week, we're probably going to have a different kind of dialogue and all kinds of good stuff. Hopefully I have some of my favorite guest coaches will show up and come on to the show and participate in the discussion. I had to cut you guys off short today because I got a lot of work to do. I got to get back in there and lift some boxes. I got to lift that barge. I got to tote that bale. But I love having you guys. Thank you so very much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm so glad you're here. I hope that I said something or done something that can enlighten or bring some opportunities to you that you can share with others. Please don't keep the coach's secret. If you like what I'm doing, hey, subscribe, find me on YouTube, find me on Facebook, find me on LinkedIn, subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff. I'll be posting links in the chat so that everybody can get to all the free tools that I have available for you. And if you have any question at all, feel free to give me a call. In fact, if I could do this, listen to that. I could do that even on my cell phone. All my contact information is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. The only reason you don't reach out to me, the only reason you don't contact me, the only reason you don't follow up with me, is you. It's not me. It's you. And if I don't follow up and follow back up with you, then it's me. But do me a favor. I've taken this step. You should take the next step. Figure out what you can do to really grow your opportunities. And if I can do anything to help you, talk to me. Let's see what we can do. It may not cost you a whole bunch of money. It may not cost you any at all. But you gotta talk to the brother. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I hope that you will stay connected and keep working. I want everyone to be successful, everyone to be grateful, everyone to have the opportunity they deserve to have. If I can do anything to help, feel free to reach out. Thank you so very much.